we will all remain standing for a moment of silence and reflection for all of the suffering going on in the world recently. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And this evening, we're going to start off with a presentation by Ms. Vivian Felton, who comes from the Natural Resources Conservation Service. And Ms. Felton is here. She has taken a walk around Straska Farm, and she is going to share with us some information about that and her opinions. And we welcome you, Ms. Felton. Thank you.
Sure. So my name is Vivian Felton, and I work for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the Natural Resources Conservation Service. So, and I'm the district conservationist for Hartford and Tillage counties. And I was just here tonight to kind of introduce our agency to those of you who don't or who aren't familiar with it, and to talk about ways that we might be able to assist the town of Rocky Hill with the Straska Farm. So I'll just share my screen here. A little document. Bear with me. And can you see this? Can you see the slide?
Yep. I can see it.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. Okay, so this is my agency, Natural Resources Conservation Service. We started in, we came out of the Dust Bowl. FDR had started our agency to help control soil erosion, which was greatly needed back then. We were called the Soil Conservation Service for quite a while, and then our name changed to the Natural Resources Conservation Service in 1994. And basically we work in partnership with private landowners and land managers to help improve conditions on existing farms. And we provide technical and financial assistance through voluntary conservation programs. So we have, we provide conservation planning assistance, small, large farms to help reduce soil erosion, improve water quality. We can offer financial assistance through conservation programs that are funded by the Farm Bill. But folks don't need to sign up for our programs. We can work with people just with free technical assistance. Our programs are voluntary and we're non-regulatory. If people do sign up for our programs, they need to be eligible. So the person needs to be eligible. I bring this up because towns are not eligible, but farmers are. Other entities and tribes, people that are engaged in agricultural production or forest management, they have to be producing the land itself also has to be producing an agricultural product. And people that lease the land, and most of our farmers that we work with actually do lease land. Not many own that much farmland in Connecticut. And they just have to prove that they have some control over the land for the life of a contract, if they were to sign up for our programs. The land must already be in agriculture. And then another important one is that the farmer must maintain compliance with wetland and highly erodible land provisions. We're not regulatory, but we do, if people want to get financial benefits from the USDA, they need to be in compliance with wetland and highly erodible land laws. And they also need to not make over $950,000 a year. And some of our popular conservation practices are seasonal high tunnel, which is just a plastic structure that you put over existing cropland. It helps extend the seasons and control the environment inside to improve crop conditions. Other conservation practices are grazing management to help improve pasture conditions, forage for the animals. Fencing off of sensitive areas to help protect wetlands and watercourses. Drip or micro irrigation that helps conserve water and conserve energy. Vegetated buffers, just planting trees and shrubs and grasses along wetlands and watercourses. Conservation cover, which is really just a permanent cover designed to help create habitat for native pollinators. Cover crops, which help improve soil health, help store nutrients, add nitrogen, control erosion, suppress weeds. Rotating your crops, crop rotation, moving crops annually to new beds, relocating them by family because the families often share the similar pests like cucurbits and Solanaceae family. Another conservation practice is conservation tillage and residue management, which is really just tilling the soil less, which less disturbance of the soil improves the soil condition, improves the microbiology, the organic matter, drainage, and manure storage is a big one in Connecticut to help a lot of the farms. They would get a comprehensive nutrient management plan with us, and the practices called out in that plan would then be implemented to help store and manage the manure on their farm. Store it in a waste storage facility, and then a plan to spread it appropriately in the fields to meet the crop's needs, but not be disruptive to the water quality. Another one, which actually brings in a lot of the horse owners, is compost buildings. Again, just storing the manure, but then creating compost out of it. So for the Straska farm, right now, the biggest thing that we could do for the town is to help with a conservation plan, which is just working with you and the farmers, but just helping you to determine your goals, providing you with a plan which consists of an aerial photograph, the soils maps, the soils descriptions, resource inventory data, the list of whatever you decide to do there and which conservation practices you agree to install and want to install, and then help come up with a schedule for installing them and information to help maintain those practices. And I know Kip Kolsinskis was out there. He was the soil consulting soil scientist. And he was, I believe, came and presented his findings. He did a really detailed assessment. This is his map here showing all the areas. And he all those pin points here. I was just sketching out, he was pointing out things like, contour farming over here on the right, contour farming on the contour, and irrigation would be a helpful recommended thing to do here. A little bit of clearing here, over up top here, this area, maybe seeding it to hayfield, and then going down below in the middle here, strip cropping. He calls
Can I interrupt for a second? I don't think you're on the proper slide. We're still showing the cover slide.
The cover slide?
Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't been moving.
You haven't been moving the slides.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Huh.
I figured this was going to be a long presentation if you were still on slide 1.
Wow, I'm almost done with the slides. How can I wonder how you
just if you could just go to your overview when you were just saying to the right here and just giving an overview of that stuff, if everyone is okay with that.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been actually following your slides on the left, but it was not on the main screen. So they are in the presentation mode on the left, like a
Yeah, but that only goes to
test
slide
mode
5.
essentially. But I can't see them in the middle. But I didn't want to interrupt you right in the middle of your talk track.
So someone can see the slides moving.
No, I cannot see it moving, but I see them listed on the left,
It's like you just have the PDF, the PowerPoint open. It's not in slideshow view.
Yes.
Right, like a thumb drive.
Oh.
There you go.
Hey, there's the picture of the seasonal high tide. Oh, the pictures are great.
Are you serious? I don't know how to,
Click on it.
Just
Okay. I'm seeing, I clicked on it and I've got it in full slide view and I've been clicking through the slides.
Do you have two screens?
Yes, I have 3.
That's why. That's exactly what's happening. So you have to, when you're sharing the screen, right? I have the same problem. It tells you, if you're sharing screen 1 or screen 2. And I think you stop sharing, go back and notice if you are sharing the right screen, because it will tell you which one is 1 or which one is 2.
Can I just move this?
You can do that. Yes.
What about now? What are you seeing?
Let's wait. But you can move it to the other screen. Yes. I think you should be able to technically.
Huh. I've been moving them around. I'm not sure where.
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way to do it might be you stop sharing and then sharing again, but notice the 1 and 2 on your screen when it says which screen it's sharing.
Okay. That must have been really boring for you. I'm so sorry.
No, your talk track was awesome.
Okay. All right, so sharing screen 2. And how about this?
We just see a button that says this resume slideshow, basically.
Yeah, try to resume.
If you can give it the if you can get back to the view where we just see the deck and then scroll down, we'll still see the slide, pretty large enough to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alan, this is going to segue nicely into the IT upgrade portion of the Finance Committee report.
Yes, it will.
Oh, now
All
we
right.
can see. Yeah.
Yeah, now we see compost buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we can work with this. What do you have now?
I have no idea what you guys are. You seeing
We're seeing conservation tillage.
Yes.
okay, now
Manure
manure
storage.
storage.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
just want to see if any of, okay, so I won't go over the other slides. I won't do them again. Should I just continue?
If you go to the map, I
I
think
think
that
so.
would be helpful.
Okay, so you have grazing management, fencing of sensitive areas, you see that?
Mhm.
Drip irrigation, okay, vegetative buffers, conservation cover crop. Okay.
So
And
Vivian, if you could comment on what you see at our site regarding irrigation. What are the challenges of irrigation, and is there any irrigation, and what kind of investment are the farmers going to have to make to get irrigation? I don't know if you were able to look at that.
yeah, no, so today I am here to introduce our agency and to tell you, what the next steps would be. And that is certainly something I'll look at, but there isn't an irrigation there. I did ask. And so one of the main things, let me just click through these maps and then we can talk a little bit more about that. But right now I'm showing you Kip's some rough notes from Kip's map, and just wanted to make the point that he was noticing these sensitive areas like the pink blobs that you're seeing here, that's wetland areas. So farm fields that are near those wetland areas, it's important to think about the wetland compliance. And then this map shows how steep the areas can be. You can see the relief of the land here. So if you can see my cursor moving, it shows on the far right, this land, that's where you want to think about the highly erodible land and the farmer being able to commit to farming like across the slope.
Vivian?
Yes.
So you said wetlands, I think we were told that farmers aren't subjected to the same wetlands restrictions that a developer is.
Right, so that is, the difference is that when you're talking about restrictions, you'd be talking about, there's the regulatory agencies, that would be you, the town and the state and the feds and the Army Corps. And then there's us, the USDA, where we're not regulatory, but there are restrictions. People, farmers that want to get our benefits in the future, they cannot till up wetlands to, cut down trees, stump up and till up a wetland to make it into a field that could plant annually tilled crops. They can't do that unless it was done a long time ago before the law, and it's been that way ever since. And that's where my next slide shows you the old photo that I found of the Straska farm. I don't know if it's big enough on your screen to see, but there's some blue blobs here. Can you see that?
Yep.
At all? Okay, so that is showing that this is a map from our agency where we actually went out in the past and did the delineation to determine for the Straska farm what area was considered wetland by the USDA and what areas were considered prior converted, like the ones that, it used to be wetlands a long time ago, but before the law was in place, the farmer had been farming it. And you can see, if you can see my cursor, there are a few areas like where my cursor is right now, where there's a PC, where the wetland used to come in to this field. That field has been farmed for a long time. And whoever farms that piece of wetland, as far as USDA is concerned, is called prior converted, and that's okay. They can still maintain their compliance for USDA benefits. But if they were to go into this wooded area where there's a W, that's a wetland, and they would be out of compliance if they cut the trees down, stumped them, and plowed it up. So for when we talk about wetlands and what you can do, it's about compliance for USDA benefits. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes.
And that's where we're getting.
And so what if the town so the farmers have very strict delineated plot plans, and some of those pre-existing converted wetlands may be in there, and it's good to know that they'll still be eligible for your help if they continue to farm that. But what if that wooded area, the town was doing something? I mean, so we're not the leasee, we're not the farmer, and we're not applying to you, but what if the town put a walking trail in that wooded area? Does that negate you out?
No, that walking trail's fine. So good point. There are certain activities that would be allowable. So yeah, walking trail's fine, even logging, but just not stumping and plowing and draining. So for the Straska farm, what I'd want to do, one of the things that I think we could offer you is to go out there with our GPS unit and mark these boundaries so that you know where the USDA wetland boundaries are, so that you know and so that the farmers know, so that everyone can know what they can and can't do in those areas if they want to maintain USDA benefits. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So the other thing you'll see on this map is the red letters. They say either HEL for highly erodible land or NHEL for not highly erodible land. So a lot of it is not highly erodible land, which means the conservation practices, they wouldn't require a lot because it's not a real erodible field. But there are a few fields here that are quite steep and erodible. And one is that same field I pointed to with right near the wetlands. That's highly erodible, as well as down lower in the lower left corner here. And then all the way on the right over here. So there's 3 areas that really do need a conservation plan on the fields. And that's where I think, if I go to the next slide here, this is where the town, Ray gave me this map showing that a farmer would be farming the green section 1, another farmer section 2, another farmer section 3.
So Vivian,
Yeah.
So only a couple of us counselors have seen this particular view, and for the benefit of the counselors that are seeing this for the first time, that map with the red, the boundary lines, 3 farmers each have 2 tracks each, a section A and a track A and a track B that make up their plots. So they go together, the colors go together, and those would be matched up to their individual lease that you'll be getting later next month in your information packet. But those are what the town mapped out for the farmers so those are the recommended tracks, farming tracks, and each farmer gets a track A and a track B, and so that's a gross farmable land, if you will, if you're following a lease. That's what's farmable. That's what they're renting. And so for their benefit to know that that's the map that is in play right now with their lease.
So I did call one of the farmers, touch base with him, and his concern was he wants to know what he has to commit to before he signs that lease. And if the town of Rocky Hill wants farmers to follow a conservation plan, those fields down here and over here and over here do have some highly erodible land. So the farmer would have to commit to following a plan that helped control the soil erosion. And that's where we're at. I need to
Thank you.
I need to work with, talk to each farmer about what they do, what their practices are, and what they're willing to do. And on our end, we need to we run some numbers to show which practices would be effective. Like, is a rye cover crop at the end of silage corn growing season enough? And if it's not enough, is that farmer willing to do a little bit more? So my recommendations are that NRCS develops a conservation plan on the whole farm with the town, so that we know, exactly what your goals are. And then we develop conservation plans with each farmer and the ones that intend to lease the land, and that you can ensure that the farmers, will be able to commit to staying in compliance. So that's the point we're at. And I guess my next step is to work further with Ray to get the town to update records with the USDA, and then and develop our how much the field boundaries have changed, and get our mapping correct, so that then we can work with the town and the farmers to proceed. So sorry you didn't get to see all the slides, but that's what I have. Any more questions at this point?
Can you provide the slide?
Sure. Yeah, okay.
You had mentioned in the areas where they were, gotta get my terminology right, in the areas that were not the prior converted, there's certain level of allowable activities that include recreational stuff like walking trails, but also some other agricultural activities. So what are the other productive uses of that land in addition to logging, that might be used? Is there like a growing for seed or something that's not an annual plant? What else could we use that for potentially?
It would be shady because, it is woodland. So you'd want to think more of the lines of agroforestry, things that would grow in the woods. It's not a popular thing that people do in Connecticut because it is a it's a specialty kind of farming that most people aren't set up for, but you can grow mushrooms, you can grow herbs, medicinals, so that's one thing. And there's nothing wrong with leaving it just the way it is and having those trails to go through it, because the wildlife benefit is tremendous. And
I guess if you were doing that, you're just not allowed to, like you said, stump it, or I guess increase chances that the land will erode. Is that the?
Yeah, for the wetlands, it's actually, it's not so much about erosion as it is about removing the functional values that wetlands have, which they help filter water and help with flood mitigate, flood control. So losing those benefits is something that we don't support. So.
There's also, I think, on a different map, you'd call it parcel A, but there's a large kind of woodlot. Yeah, down there. Is that something where it kind of falls into a similar boat, where you potentially want to either do agriculture or something, or woodland agriculture in there, or does that have the potential to be used in other ways?
Yeah, you could do woodland agriculture. And if you can see my cursor, there's a little field here that on Kip's assessment, he thought you could open that up a little bit more and maybe do a meadow or or an ag field. But part of agriculture, having these mixed land uses is really beneficial. So you don't need to try to farm every last bit of it, but boy, agroforestry would be a really interesting educational thing for Connecticut landowners, because there's so many small woodlots that you could grow some interesting things in it. So what I'm hearing from you is more, you want to know more about the irrigation and more about what you could do in these areas that aren't open fields.
Yeah, I think one of the questions that I know I have is, we know there's a certain amount of land that the town owns, and we have some of it, I guess, has been more obviously farmed in recent years. And I think of the 6 tracts we've identified, it's about 33 acres in this phase. What do the other phases look like? Is there some other more land that we could bring online for different uses? And if it's something where, for example, you mentioned agroforestry, if it's something that is more rare, how in the future would we go about, I guess, marketing ourselves to encourage that type of use of the site if it's something that was good for the site?
Okay. And I know there was, Kip did have, I can't remember where it was. I mean, there would be, the community farm, and he had, I gotta just scroll up a little bit here. Yeah, the open meadow here. A little bit of clearing. So his, one of his recommendations was working with the Connecticut Department of Agriculture, that's the state, not the federal, and clearing a bit to kind of open up more of the areas and pushing the edges that have been taken over a little bit. So that's one way to get a little bit more farmland. And that's another benefit to getting a conservation plan, because if you apply, the city can apply to the State Department of Ag for those farmland restoration funds that Kip recommended, and they would want to see a conservation plan. So, we would have one for you.
Vivian, I have a question. With respect to the highly erodible soil, and presuming there was a conservation plan in place, does the USDA come out on a yearly basis to sort of do a walk around and see is everything in compliance, or do we have someone come out to do that?
We just We have a random selection of a few tracks per year. So we're not going to be going around and checking every year. And unless someone is enrolled in a program during the life of that contract, we would be checking, because just by the nature of having a contract and having ongoing conservation practices being installed, we would be out there and we would see. But yeah, if it's just a conservation plan that we've given someone and we walk away, we don't do annual monitoring of that. It's just if it came up in some the yearly 5% spot checks that we do throughout the state.
Okay, thank you.
And sometimes we react, somebody might call us and say, hey, there's a farm, we know that they're clearing something, and then we have to respond to that, but we wouldn't go out ourselves.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I have another a question. About how long does it take to put together a conservation plan?
Well, I'm trying to fast track this one because I know you guys want it by July, right? So yeah, it usually is not the top priority just because we have the program applications that we're trying to slog through here, but I know that the farmers are wanting to know their commitment, so I'm trying to get this done within the next few weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other questions?
Yes. Is there a website that the farmers could access so they can be looking at some of the stuff themselves?
Yes. I can't promise it's the most user-friendly, but it's, I don't know if you can see the writing on the screen there, but www.ct.nrcs.usda.gov. Probably best just to Google NRCS Connecticut.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions before we let Vivian go? Okay, hearing none, Vivian, we thank you very much for your presentation. It was very informative, and so we're excited for next steps, and we're certainly happy that you're being so compliant with our rush job. I didn't realize that we were being so pushy. But
well, you weren't. You actually, Ray contacted me back in March, but this whole pandemic got a little in the way too. So yeah. But
right.
We're gonna do what we can. And again, I apologize about the slides, and I will send those along. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and congratulations. It's a wonderful farm.
It is. It is. We look forward to many years of farming and happiness and community involvement.
Great. Okay. Take care.
Have a good evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. So let's move along in our agenda. We are now at Section 3, Public Comment. This portion of the meeting is specifically set aside for comments from the public who are asked to limit their comments to 2 minutes. Any person interested in providing public comment should email publicmeetings@rockyhillct.gov. You will be provided with a link to attend the Zoom remote meeting and instructions on how you will participate. I'm going to check my chat box and see if we have anybody hanging out. And we do not have any public comment this evening, so we will continue to move forward with appointments and resignations. Mr. Duff, do you have any appointments or resignations?
We do not, no.
Okay. Mr. Sharma, do you have any?
We do have one. A resignation from Planning and Zoning, Mr. Frank Morris, and we are appointing Giuseppe Angelico to P&Z.
Okay, well, we are sorry to see Mr. Morse go, but we welcome Mr. Aglico. Thank you.
Aglico?
Thank you.
I apologize.
Thank you for coming aboard. All right, let's move on to approval of minutes A, the budget workshop, May 7th, 2020. Is there a motion for that?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the budget workshop minutes from May 7th, 2020.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Moving on, approval of the minutes town council meeting, May 18th, 2020. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the town council meeting minutes from May 18th, 2020.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving along, subcommittee reports beginning with finance.
The Finance Subcommittee did meet on June 11th. One of the items, or one of the, I guess, more exciting items, as Councilor Duff alluded to, is the IT department received a grant from Pura to upgrade the audiovisual technology in the chamber, as well as the broadcasting technology. Some of the features, and hopefully I got most of them here, there'll be 5 new HD cameras. It'll allow for remote operation of the session. At the council chambers, every other seat will have a monitor to be able to view a presentation like tonight on a screen closer to the individuals. It's anticipated that this will be done, completed somewhere between mid-July and the beginning of August, with the hope that we may be back in council chambers at some point in August. Also, as part of this technology that we've moved to Zoom technology, we'll still be able to continue using that technology. So if one of the members of the council or members of the public is away, they would still be able to remote into the meeting, and we would be able to see them on the video screen that would be at the council chambers. So we're kind of moving to a more state-of-the-art piece. The other positive on this is, even though we haven't expended the funds, we've already received the money from Pura. So great grant when you get the money up front, and then you could fully expend it. The second item from our meeting is the town will be going out and issuing bans in the amount of $11,350,000. The anticipated issue date is approximately July 14th, with funds to be received approximately the end of July. Those funds are made up of $2,250,000 from the Rocky Hill High School project, and that's a rollover. The Community Senior Center, the construction phase, would be $7.1 million, and the road improvements would be a $2 million allocation in that fund. All of our revenue and expenditure items are fairly up to date. We are slightly behind on some of the revenue line items, but we still have a month in which to make them up. The belief of town staff is the expenses will be cut by an equal amount, so it should not have a severe impact on the existing budget. The last 2 items, I guess, in the update, the Board of Education is still on track to return approximately $800,000 at the end of the fiscal year. And the roof project has been applied for in June, and we are just waiting for, or the Board of Education is waiting to hear what the reimbursement will be on that project. And that concludes finance.
Okay, thank you. Government ops?
Government operations has not met since our last town council meeting. We are next scheduled to meet on Monday, July 6th.
Thank you. Public safety?
Public safety did meet this evening, and the fire department reports a slight uptick in calls. So they're getting back to what they consider a more normal month, with 54 calls this month, up from 34 last month. 120 training hours have been racked up, but behind for a normal year. But that's due to the fact that they can't, that they must social distance. So they're following guidelines. But that will sharply uptick going forward when they start the new training program and get further guidance from the state. Recruitment, so staffing levels have held flat even, but we are down on recruiting new fire personnel, and that also has to do with the fact that they can't put them into process and have them do the physical and all those other requirements. So that also will change as we begin to move past maybe this pandemic and the social distancing. As for ambulance, they are still holding at 77 members strong, and they had a 372 call month, slightly up. So the uptick is consistent there. We had a report from the Central Health District where they report that Rocky Hill specifically has 387 cases to date of COVID-19, with 88 resulting in 88 deaths to date, for a 22.7% death rate, which unfortunately is a very high number. But the rest of the time was spent answering 4 questions to public comment. So I encourage anybody to go listen to the meeting, and they can hear the Central Health District responding to public questions, 4 of them. As regards to the police department, they are experiencing an uptick, a more normal call level. Calls for service in May were 2,938. 2 graduating officers from the academy should be returning shortly. 1 officer in field training almost complete, and 1 dispatcher in field training almost complete. So staffing is okay. Nobody out due to COVID-19. The accreditation process continued on track. And so rather than having a physical visit, they had a remote in and some other activities going on. And they received notice that they got a favorable review for that last step. So they are expecting to hear about their final accreditation. John Emanuel, Councilor Emanuel, asked some very good questions of the police chief, and noted, John, do you want to pipe in on the comments you got back from regarding, the things that you requested of police? If you'd like to, they were good. They were good. It was good information and good comment.
Yeah, it was just a couple of questions on what his opinion was regarding the national conversation about what's been going on. I gave some positive comments regarding last week's rally and how it did seem to be very pro-police, Rocky Hill Police, which was really good. But basically, I thought it would be good to get his feedback on some of the state mandates that are being discussed relating around body cams and apprehension of people, detainment, things like that. So it was a good feedback. More to come from the state level, but I think on a local level, what we need to do is just hear more from him and what we could do to support him in the department, since there's been very low concern about what we're seeing nationally here locally. So it was a good Q&A and some good feedback from the chief.
And I thank you for your line of questioning there. That was excellent. And that's the report from Public Safety, which will meet again July 20th at 5:30 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Senior liaison.
Senior liaison has not met since our last council meeting, but we are planning to hold a meeting on the 22nd at 5 p.m. That will be a virtual meeting via Zoom.
Thank you. Land acquisition and
Excuse
farmland
me.
preservation.
Excuse me,
Oh, go ahead, Mimi.
June 22nd or July 22nd? You just said the 22nd.
Oh, I'm sorry, June 22nd.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Land acquisition.
Land acquisition did meet this evening, and we are excited to report that a lot more work has been done in mapping the site, creating plans, getting a draft lease together and through our town attorney. So the long and short of it is the Open Space Land Acquisition and Farmland Preservation Committee did vote unanimously to request the packet to be sent up to council for council's review and consideration and approval. But we did see quite a few different things in there that were good, and it's moving along. There may be another walk down invite for the farmland going forward, but we'd have to keep that to 5 persons. So we'll have to maybe decide who gets to do that walk down. I don't know if there's any questions regarding the lease. It's probably good to wait to get the copy because they are going to amend the copy that we have with comments from Kerma, which is our insurer. They have some legalese that they want to add. So we'll be getting a full package up to council later.
Okay, thank you. Liaison to the state rep and state senator.
I'm sorry, we'll meet again July 20th at 6:15 for our next regular meeting. Sorry.
That's okay.
No meetings with the state and senator or state representative. State Representative Wood continues to provide COVID reports.
Thank you. School liaison.
No meetings, no report.
Thank you. Economic Development Subcommittee.
No meeting, no report.
Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda, we have nothing there. So let's move to old business. A, discussion possible action community/senior center.
Last week, the general contractor came in and they started putting up their fencing and so on. They completed that last week, and towards the tail end of last week, the fencing pretty much covers the parking lot from the entrance to the community center all the way down to the library, and picks up the library's parking lot, the parking lot behind the library, and then it shoots up alongside the fire station, and then comes across Old Main Street and comes up to the gymnasium. They completed that. They started taking down a number of trees that were in the area, as well as start to do some site work as far as developing the foundation area as well as the parking lot. So you won't be seeing any trailer on site. They're using one of the activities rooms in the community center. We put up a temporary wall for that entrance from the town hall into the community center where the Hall of Fame candidates or recipients pictures used to be. So there's really no way to get into the community center unless you go through the construction site. Over the next couple of weeks, they're going to be moving the gazebo over by the fire museum. They're going to do some site demolition for the new building wing, excavation for the new building foundation. forming and installing rebar for the foundation footings. There's a transformer generator on the property that feeds electricity into the library. They're going to be changing around the way the library gets its electricity over the next few days. Well, and then they'll be installing a new stormwater system as well. The general contractor was hired and then started working pretty quickly. So what we decided to do, based on a recommendation from Councilman Greenspan, is instead of having a groundbreaking ceremony during all the restrictions that are in place currently, we're going to try to have a last beam ceremony, which people involved in the this process and anyone else can sign the beam before it's put up in place, and that should be sometime in the next couple of months. And that's it for the community center at the moment.
Okay, thank you, John. Moving on to new business. Paragraph A, discussion Straska farm leases.
It all started just saying that, as Ed mentioned, there was a meeting of the Land Acquisition Committee going over the Straska farmers leases. There was discussion and so on. And the committee unanimously voted to send the lease agreements to the town council for review, excuse me, and hopefully approval. So our intentions is to take a look at some of the changes that were recommended by KERMA, our insurance carrier, to the leases enhancements, and get a copy to the town council this week for their review. And also will include a summary of the leases and as well as a map of the layout on where the farmers will be leasing their farmland and so on. And then perhaps if fall into place with Vivian and so on, a discussion and possible action on improving the leases at the next council meeting, I believe in the middle of July. I know.
Just a question on that. In reviewing the leases that we saw in the farmland subcommittee, they were talking about the first year being a 6-month lease to allow the farmers access to the site to begin doing some prep work, invasive remediation, some other activities, and some plantings. Those leases start effective July 1st. Our next council meeting, as I understand it, is the 20th of July. Do we know, is that just July 1st because that's when it makes sense for a 6-month lease, or are there activities that are anticipated in the beginning of July that would necessitate maybe a special meeting to approve? I mean, now that we can meet via Zoom, do we need to look at that again in like 2 weeks or something because we don't have a meeting earlier in July? What does the timetable look like for the activities, I guess, that we're expecting on site?
I think the July 1st date was just used as a starting date for discussion purposes with the farmers and so on, with discussions with them over it and explaining them the process the town would have to go through in order to properly review that, as well as authorize the lease. They were understanding that most likely it wouldn't be approved until that meeting in July. So it could always just be an adjustment because I don't think the farmers are in a terrible rush to get out here. And also the first 6 months lease isn't really overbearing. So I think it's just more of a, if we shoot for approving the lease, it would probably be the date that'd be approved by the town council moving forward.
John, in these leases are post-carry review?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Okay, if there's no more questions, we'll move on to B, acceptance, open space associated with Brook Street Crec School. And you have that in your packet.
Yeah, it's just for some few acres near the Crec School that's being built that the Gardner Farms is, I don't know if donating is the right word, to the town, as well as the Crec School is donating a little less than 2 acres. So it's just more or less a formality of the town council to accept these 2 pieces of land being donated by those groups.
Are there any questions?
I had a question. John, in giving this property over to us, is there any, excuse me, any loss of tax revenue of significance to the town?
I don't think so. The only thing that we could be getting tax revenue is probably from the Gardner's property, which is probably 3 acres. And it's probably classified as farmland, I'm assuming. So there isn't a great loss. And I believe Crec wouldn't pay taxes in the state school.
For these
John?
two, oh, go ahead.
Oh, during the construction of that, there was the mound of termite pesticide removal. Is that this site, this land, or was it different land?
I'm not sure exactly, but I would assume that would have been associated with the land that was unearthed during the construction of the building, as well as the fields. I believe these are just parts of land that was not used, and the school didn't see any use for it, so they're donating it to the town that way. But I'm not sure. I don't believe that they were part of that what you just described.
I'm
So
looking
we
at the map.
couldn't put the school couldn't put a field on that, another ball field.
What was that?
I said, so the school couldn't put another ball field on that parcel.
I don't believe so. I'm not sure what it looks like.
I'm sorry, Chris.
It's okay. Sorry, I hopped in there. I remember being out at the site. Ed, you probably were there too, when they first started doing the site prep for the Crec School. And I'm trying to envision where these parcels are. There's like a steep embankment behind one of the parcels that goes out into the woods. Is that what I'm thinking of for the Crec parcel?
I was there when they had a ceremony. The project got started, and I don't know exactly where these parcels are.
I was just trying to, I guess, envision, what's the plan for these? Is this something that Parks and Rec will have to mow? Is it like a field that people can run around on or picnic, or is it really just, I guess, wilderness that we're inheriting I don't know if it connects to other trails.
I don't think there's a use plan for it as of the moment. I don't know if the terrain allows it for anything else besides just open space. Beside being used for passive recreation.
Okay.
In your allergies.
I'm just wondering why though. It's just it's a little unusual. I know it's gone through planning and zoning, and they're sending it up to us, and I'm certainly not ungrateful. It's just they're curious amounts of land to be donating back, and I'm trying to look at the little map, but it's so tiny. It looks like if we had to go in and maintain it, we would enter off Brook Street. I don't know if Gardner Way is actually a road. I can't tell.
No,
So how do we
that's a new road that they built leading in from Brook Street. Temporarily, I believe it's going to be the responsibility of the CREC to maintain it, but it will eventually become a town road.
a town road?
The open space part is a part of typical subdivision subdivision.
We can't hear Rick.
Right, they can't hear you. Make a blowhorn. Blowhorn, whatever.
Social distance.
All right. Let's pray.
Put your mask on.
This is part of a subdivision approval. Anytime a subdivision comes before the Planning and Zoning Commission, there are open space requirements, and I believe these parcels were dedicated to the town as open space, not unlike any other subdivision plan that has come through the Planning and Zoning Commission. It was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission for open space, passive open space, just like any other, 1, 2, or 3 acres town property we have as part of a subdivision in town. That's what I believe this is for.
Okay, that makes sense.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions?
Just the comment that it'll be helpful. I mean, I don't think we want to do it immediately, but once we have a plan, I guess, of how it fits into the rest of the open space in our town, putting up a sign or something, so people know, where the boundary of that open space is. I mean, again, I think like a lot of us are having a hard time envisioning how it fits into the surrounding parcels, but given that it's between a school and a farm, we want people staying, especially if they're bringing their dogs, who knows. We want to make sure that they're staying within the boundaries of that space. So a little bit of guidance, if we're able to give a little bit of guidance to the public, I'm sure that would be appreciated so they can enjoy the open space responsibly.
I agree, Chris, particularly for the school. I think that's what really, not even so much for the public, but more so for the protection of the students at the school. All right, so John, are we going to vote on this? Is that what you're asking us to do?
I think just vote to accept the 1.995 acres and the 2.949 acres of open space.
All right, so I will entertain a motion. You can look at your letter if you can't remember those numbers. And it's in the second to the last sentence of the first paragraph.
I'll make a motion to accept the open space associated with the Brook Street School, the Brook Street CREC School. I believe it is 2.94 acres and a second parcel of 1.995 acres.
From CREC.
From CREC.
Yeah, okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. All right, coming close to the end, we'll do our mayor's report quickly. So with so much going on in the world, I just wanted to take a couple minutes to offer my appreciation and recognize some of the good that's been happening here locally since we last met. We skipped 2 weeks ago, so it's been a while. Some things have been going on. First, our Rocky Hill High School seniors are graduating this Thursday, and they're going to have a virtual graduation, which will be shown at 7 p.m. And I just want to give them a big shout out because they rose above unprecedented challenges, and that was their choice, which I think is a real testament to their character and their passion. And having spent the last several months of their high school careers adjusting to pandemic conditions, they really did acquire a skill set that no other graduating class is going to have. And that really came from within. So I am incredibly proud of our class of 2020, and I wish them all an abundance of happiness and good health as they go out into the world and show everyone what they are made of. And just a reminder, if you don't know, the following day, Friday, June 19th, at 4 o'clock, there's going to be a parade. And the parade is going to consist of high school seniors in their vehicles. So each senior will have one vehicle that they can decorate, and they have a specific parade route. You can find that parade route on, not sure if it's on Board of Ed website, but it's certainly all over Facebook. If you can't find the parade route, you can give us a shout and we will email us, call us, whatever, and we will get that to you. We're asking folks, if you are in a home on that parade route, that you jump out of the house and show the seniors some love, because it's going to be a very exciting time for them. I'd also like to thank Pastor Ron Cox and Chief of Police Mike Custer for joining me a couple of weeks ago outside of Town Hall. We had a 6 o'clock moment of silence, which was a townwide moment of silence that evening. And then we grieved the loss of George Floyd. And it was really with a heavy heart that we gathered and asked for unity, because the killing of Mr. Floyd has brought about intense emotions and just feelings of distress. And so I continue to pray that as a nation, we embrace the fundamental values that unite all of us, that we learn to understand experiences that may differ from ours, and that we are open to the perspective of others, really, if we expect to move forward with any type of significant change. And so locally, we actually witnessed unity here in Rocky Hill last week on our town green, where local residents organized a unity march, and they walked down to the intersection of Elm Street and the Silestine Highway. And I want to thank all of those organizers and all of you who participated and came together in that peaceful demonstration and that evening of unity. Now, I want to let you know that it's time to bring those voices to the table and we start having an open and honest dialogue. So over the next several weeks, there will be guidance issued on the formation of a new commission, and within that, an advisory council. And your input is going to play a critical role on how these groups are focused and identifying ways that we can improve. The new commission is essentially the resurrection of the 1988 Human Relations Commission, which I came across after taking office, and I was going through all of the boards and commissions trying to find out where we could have some efficiencies. Councillor Duff and I spoke about this for a while, and then COVID-19 happened. And unfortunately, things get put on the back burner, but both Councillor Duff and I have discussed resurrecting it again. And so this is something that over the next several weeks we're going to see happening. Dana McGee, who is in charge of our Human Resources Department, has offered to serve as staff to help us put this together. There are a lot of steps that are involved. Just we're going to have to change our ordinance a little bit. We're going to have to change the language a little bit in the 1988 language because we want to sort of enhance that and make sure that we are ensuring inclusion and equality in our community. So I think the next steps logically are probably we're going to hold a public forum so that we can hear from all of you. And then the thing is, I know that a lot of people aren't very comfortable with public speaking. So Dana and I were thinking of having an option with a survey, sort of a community climate survey. So that would enable everyone out there to actually participate and be part of the conversation. And so this is something that we're going to start working on. And then finally, the town council will come together to formally create these bodies and to seek members from the public to join and to serve and to fulfill the expectations of our amazing community. So this is all in the works, and we'll certainly keep you posted as things come together. I know Dana is putting some proposals together for the council to look at. And during all this preliminary work, I would be remiss, however, if I did not acknowledge our police department and its commitment to our community. I just really want the men and women of our local law enforcement to know that they are appreciated. And that's the end of my report. So I'm going to turn it. Oh, actually, let me tell you one more thing. I'm scrolling through my computer. I want to talk about COVID-19 for a moment because I'm going to ask all of you to please be mindful as we now, I think the 17th, we're moving into phase 2 reopen, that it's still very important, whether you're going to call it social distancing or physical distancing, that you remain 6 feet apart from people when it's possible, and that you're wearing your mask when you're out in public, because it took us a long, long time to flatten the curve. And we did that, and we don't want to go back. So irrespective of your opinions, and there are a lot out there now on COVID-19, we do know that the social distancing works, and we do know that they say the masks are very important. So I'm going to encourage all of you to heed the advice, know that we are all in this together. And it's one of the messages that we've been trying to put out there from day one. So luckily, through the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, we were able to put together and design messaging in the forms of banners and signs that reiterate the importance of personal mitigation strategies. And so I want to thank CCM, and I also want to thank our local contributor, Katrina Selza, who helped design some very colorful and pretty signs that hopefully you will be seeing around town as we move into the summer months. And that's officially the end of my report. So now we will move on to town manager's report.
Continuing on the reopening of Connecticut theme, the Rocky Hill Town Hall will be reopening to the public on June 22nd. Now that we got the fence in place and we're trying to make sure the employees park where they're supposed to. So we're planning to open the town hall as well as human services on the 22nd. I'm going to ask that people wear masks. We have the Purell dispensers around. Most of every department that has a counter has a plexiglass screen between the customer and themselves, and it's a little slot underneath to slide the paperwork underneath and so on. And we also got those line creators like you see at the movie theaters, so that the people will be social, keep this social distance and so on. The library is going to stay closed. Mary's working with the health district and the other 3 libraries in the district to coordinate a opening so that all 4 open at the same time. The community/senior center will remain closed. The senior center will remain proposed for the coming months because that's a vulnerable age group. And talking to Charles Brown, he's saying that it probably would be part of phase 3 and maybe not until sometimes in August and so on. The community center, the gymnasium is still available, and that would be used at night by the Parks and Rec department after the town hall employees have left and the construction people have left. So we might use that. There's still a dance studio and one activity room 4 that they could use for music lessons and so on in the evening. And then items relating to the Parks Department. The goal is to work to open the Elm Park outdoor pool to the public on June 24th with some strict guidelines in place. The pool will be open 7 days a week to residents only, and it'll be capped at 50 patrons per session. You'll need to make a reservation for a block of time through MyRec or over the phone in order to gain access to the pool. The fields are being opened up to youth, local youth and adults organizations starting June 17th. Town playgrounds will be reopened on June 17th. However, the basketball courts and hockey court at Maxwell Park will remain closed the current time. They may not be open till after the 4th of July. Some of the events that their parks are looking into doing is summer drive-in movie theater starting in July. They're also looking into developing at Elmbridge a Frisbee golf program, and still planning on having a farmer's market on July 29th from 4 to 7 at the ferry landing. Switching gears, the Rocky Hill High School steps are demolished. The demolition is almost complete. They're working on some of the new walls, and the precast steps are in production right now. Registrar of Voters is contacting the Board of Ed to see if they could move the primary for August 11th to Mosier School between the construction out here as well as some of the popularity that occurred down in Georgia. So I think it would be easier handled down at Mosier School. And the ferry schedule begins June 20th and runs through September 7th, Labor Day this year. And that's it.
All right, well, lots of happy news going on. I just wanted to share with everyone that website, if you're interested in the parade for the high school students. It's www.rockyhillct.gov/RHHS 2020. So again, www.rockyhillct.gov/RHHS 2020. Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi,
Night.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
everybody.
Good night.